Hi, my name is Julia Andrus, and today is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022, and this interview is being taken place over a video chat, and I am interviewing my father, Allen Andrus. He is currently out of town in this video chat. His video chat is being located in Texas, and I am located in Louisiana. I would not like to announce our home private address due to this video being possibly released to the public. And I would like to first ask you, do you consent to this interview being released to the public?
Yes, I did.
Okay. His date of birth is July 24th, 1967. And I would first like to ask you, what branch of service did you serve in?
The United States Army.
Okay. Did you serve in any wars?
No, I did not. I served during the time of the Persian Gulf, but I did not go overseas.
Okay. Do you mind saying what years you went into the Army?
1987.
Okay. So I first want to, well, after asking those questions, I would like to jog your memory a bit, and I'm going to ask a few questions. So were you drafted or did you enlist? You're frozen. I think we're frozen. Let's see. Sorry, did
Okay.
you hear my question?
No, I did.
Okay, sorry, it froze. I asked, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I enlisted.
Okay. Where were you living at the time that you enlisted?
I was living with my mom and dad
Okay.
in Lone Pine, Louisiana.
Long Pine, Louisiana. Okay. Why did you choose to join the Army?
My daddy was a veteran, a World War II veteran. He served during World War II in Philippines and fought against the Japanese, and kind of he was always my role model, and I always, as a boy, loved to hear stories and talk to him about it. And then also, I'm a very structured person, and I knew the military was a fit for me, and I was also, it helped out with college, so it helped fund my way through college because my family didn't have a whole lot of money to pay for college, and I would have been in a lot of debt, would have had to take out a lot of loans. So it helped fund me through college also. And
Okay.
I was just standard a patriotic, country loving person. So military, I was drawn to the military since I was a boy.
Awesome. Why did you pick the service? Why did you pick the service branch you joined? So why did you pick to go in the Army?
My dad was Army. He was in, he was actually Army. He was in the 11th Airborne. So I also joined the Army, and I also wanted to go through airborne school and be an airborne infantry soldier. So never considered any other branch. Navy talked with me a little bit um, while I was in high school, but Navy didn't interest me. It was only the Army since I was a boy.
Awesome. Do you recall your first day in service? If so, can you tell me a little bit about it? Maybe how you were feeling when you first started?
So the first day does stick in my head. The first thing we did is we arrived at the base, and the first thing they had to do is give us shots and make sure we had all of our medical records and all of that. And they kind of, this was prior to basic training, like about 3 days before they put you in a basic training unit. And so you stayed in a temporary holding area, you in waiting on people to come from all over the United States so that they form enough people to form a battalion to start basic training. So the first day they took us there, they introduced us into the barracks. They were pretty rough. The drill sergeants were very rough with us, barking out orders, telling them, making sure, kind of getting us accustomed to uh, the authority that they had, and following the rules exactly to the T. And then we had to go through the lines and get our shots and our medicals done, and you were basically walking through in your underwear, and they would stick in, they didn't use needles, they used air injection guns to give you shots so that you're vaccinated in case you were transferred anywhere in the world. You were already pre-vaccinated and you had the antibodies in your system. So, but I can remember I had blood dripping down my elbow from the shot that they inject in you, and I just remember I was walking out, another young guy was about 17 or 18 walking in. I thought he was gonna pass out when he seen the blood coming off my arm and stuff from the shots that were injected in. But that was my first day. That's what I remember about the first day.
Oh, that sounds terrifying. But okay, so tell me about your boot camp / training experience. Was it? I know that you kind of talked about how they were pretty tough on y'all the first day. So how was the boot camp and training experience?
So I think I was about 20 when I went in. So
Mhm.
20, I had a few years older. I was a few years older than a lot. Most people join when they're 18ish, and I was 20. Had grown up in the country, knew a good bit about kind of how life. I wasn't fragile. I wasn't protected by my family or nothing like that. So I took boot camp pretty easy, but they were very hard on us. The first part of boot camp was a lot of drilling, which is and marching and learning how to march as a platoon, and then a lot of physical activity, a lot of push-up. They anything you did wrong, they made you do push-ups, and then also eating at the mess hall was interesting. It was you couldn't talk, you actually had to have something in both hands at all times, a fork in one hand and maybe a drink in the other hand. You were constantly, they used to have competitions on how fast they would make you eat, and they would take and feed 200 men in about 15 minutes. Sometimes as soon as you walked and got your food, they'd say you're done and they'd dump your plate. You wouldn't even get to eat. So a lot of discipline, a lot of drill sergeant activity, screaming and hollering at you, and making you accustomed to taking orders and doing things the Army way.
Yeah,
So,
that's
but,
pretty.
but how far do you want me to go into basic training? There's a lot more to it.
I think that should be good because we do have to touch up on we do have a lot more questions to go through, but that was pretty good for yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Um so okay, so now we're gonna move on to some life questions about life in the service. Um so how did you stay in touch with your family?
When I first joined the Army, it was mostly letters. You would write back home. It wasn't a time when they had email, a lot of email and texting. You didn't have cell phones or nothing like that. So it was writing letters, and then like once a week, you would get to go to the payphones. You'd wait in line, and they'd give you about 3 minutes. They would time you. You could only talk for like 3 minutes, and then if you had you'd call your mom and dad. If you had a girlfriend, you had to get back in the line at a different, somewhere else. And there was always somebody saying, "Hey, your 3 minutes is up." And so the first part of joining, it was like that, and then later on, it was a lot more laxed, and you called. It was like a job during the day. So after the day was over with, you called your family or girlfriend, and you could talk. I mean, I can remember staying on the phone with your mom, and I would be so tired from the day, I would fall asleep. We'd fall asleep on the phone, and her mom would get long distance bills, and it would be $200 and $300 phone bills because we'd both fall asleep while we were talking on the phone sometimes. But after work, you just stayed in touch by telephone as normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen like you showed me like letters and stuff like that of like how y'all used to send letters and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool because I mean, no one really sends letters anymore to contact each other. So, um, so a question that I'd like to ask, because I know you were talking about how they would sometimes they would let y'all eat, sometimes they wouldn't. It was just all about training. Was the food good?
You were so hungry that anything was good. So I can't say I could complain about the Army food. There were times whenever you were out in the field, which means you were out in the woods you may be training for a couple of weeks, that you would get K-rats and, MREs. I didn't have a problem with MREs. We ate MREs. If they weren't, they would try to cook us, even when we were in the field, they would try to cook us one hot meal a day. And then we'd have MREs. I didn't mind MREs. I liked MREs. We would trade different meals. Some people like certain things, and my favorites were like the chicken a la king MREs, and
M&Ms are good.
yeah, my favorite. And I would, my least favorite was the freeze dried hamburger patties.
Ugh.
And so we would trade amongst friends and stuff like that. We all kind of knew what we each liked, and then but the K-rats, they would have these, T-rats. T-rats were called tray rats, and they were rations. They called for tray rations, and they would heat those up with boiling water, and they were really not that good. But when we were in post, the food was just like, they had companies that cooked, like contracts with companies. So it would be like eating at a cafeteria style place when you were in barracks. And then when you were in the field, you had, your MREs and your T-rats. And like I said, T-rats really were pretty nasty.
Yeah. That was a good explanation of the food. Yeah, I don't know if I could live on the Army's food. The MREs though I have tried and they're not terrible. It just kind of it's slim pickings. But do you think, can you recall like y'all having, so when you're in the Army, I know that you can't bring everything you want from home and stuff like that. Did they provide y'all with all the supplies you needed? In like other words, did they provide you, did they provide y'all with everything you needed, like all the not like the self-care kind of products with like shampoo and like pretty much all that kind of stuff? Did they provide y'all with all the supplies?
Well, whenever you join the Army, as an enlisted soldier, they issue you everything from T-shirts to underwear to towels to washcloths to socks. They issue you everything. So when you go into the Army, when you join the Army as an enlisted man, and when I mean enlisted men, there are privates to sergeants, and there's different levels of sergeants, but that's your enlisted men. And so enlisted men, the Army supplies their uniforms. And so, yes, they supply you everything as far as your clothes. Now, if you want to go out on the weekends, you still have your private clothes that you keep in your barracks. But as far as your soap and all that stuff, actually, you go to the PX and you buy that on your own, your toothpaste and all that stuff. If you wear glasses, when you join the Army, they give you the Army glasses. We called them birth control glasses because they were so ugly you couldn't even get a date. So they were called birth control glasses. So they supply you with everything. They supply you with gloves for cold weather, field jackets, liners, you name it. As an enlisted man, when you join, you really could actually go there with nothing. And essentially, you do. They prep you when you join. They prep you. You don't bring hardly anything. The clothes on your back, plus your shaving kit and supplies like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think I still have your shorts from Air Force or air like
Airborne.
yeah, the airborne shorts. I still have those, and then you have your wool socks that they gave you. Yeah.
Yes. Wool socks. Yes, they would keep your feet warm. They weren't actually the most comfortable, but they didn't rub blisters. You walked for miles, and they really were good for your feet. But they were wool. They itched pretty good.
Oh, they were. I felt them. They're itchy. Did you ever feel any pressure or stress when you were in the Army?
I mean, always the Army challenged you.
Yeah.
Not challenged. Um, if you don't, you're going to feel stressed when you're challenged. So
Mhm.
you were doing something new and different. And sometimes you were doing stuff with some very expensive equipment. To give you an example, stress. When you join the Army and you go to basic training, you're immediately stressed because they put you under extreme stress by screaming at you, and they want to see who cracks and who doesn't, and they don't want the people who crack. They don't want them in the Army, so they get them out. They discharge them. But after you go through basic, you're always getting challenged. I mean, you go through airborne school, and it's very stressful when you got to jump out of an airplane at 1,250 feet, and you go through weeks of training. Every bit of the training is a different stress level, to build you to jump week. When you go and you jump out of the plane all week, the whole week, you make a jump a day for 5 days. You do 5 different jumps, and there's gunnery. I can remember with our Bradleys, we'd shoot our 25 millimeter machine gun, and it was pretty I don't want to say stressful, but it was exciting and kind of challenging,
Yeah.
and always something new. But once you got trained in it and you did the stuff over and over and over again, it became second nature. But they were always stretching your abilities and stressing you to make you a better person.
Yeah, that I wait, hold on, let's see. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay. Um how did y'all, so when you were in the army, I know that I have some friends that are in the army and they're not always doing stuff every single day, like they're not always training every single day or doing something with the army every single day. Was it like that? Like were y'all doing something every single day when you were in the army? And if y'all weren't, how did y'all entertain yourself when y'all weren't doing anything? If that makes sense.
That's kind of like y'all. I mean, it's kind of like a job. So
Mhm.
uh, most of the time we had our weekends off. Most of the time, not all the time, but um, so during that time you would go and you do you do some shopping. You may go to the mall and hang out with some of the friends you have, and you go out and maybe clubs on the weekends, meet girls, or or go back and try to link up with your girlfriend if you have a girlfriend. Meet halfway from her house, or you were always it's kind of like a job once you get in. After you're established after basic training, I mean, you can do anything you can do as a student at school. I mean, they had extracurricular stuff. They had gymnasiums, they had weightlifting areas. They promoted having extracurricular activities. They had baseball teams you could sign up with. I mean, I did they had arts and craft
I
stuff.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they I did photography a lot. I'd like to take a lot of pictures, and they had dark rooms where I could go and develop photographs. And
Oh yeah, that's something you've told me about that.
yeah, they have art classes that they would put on. They have education where they teach people, you can take college courses. They foreign languages. They're always trying to keep help you better yourself, and keep you from missing home, and occupied during your time there. So it's kind of actually it's pretty neat, the stuff that you can actually do.
That I didn't know that you like could do like I didn't know they had like sports and stuff like that. I didn't know all that. I know you told me about the you said the dark they're called dark rooms or the
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Um that's
and
really
they have they have arenas, like for soccer teams, and football, touch flag football, and they have basketball, gymnasium, all kind of stuff.
cool. Sorry.
Activity.
Um so I know that you went to college. Did you do that during your time in the army or did you do that after? I can't remember.
So
Before.
I started the army, and then did some time in the army, and then when I got out, I went to college, started college, and that helped me through college. And then I went from being in the army to being in the reserves, and so while I was in college, I was also in the reserves.
Okay. And we're gonna touch up more on that your time after the army in just a bit. Um so I know that you've told me that you and you used to travel. I don't know, y'all used to travel a lot. What places did you travel while you were in service? And if you did travel a lot, what was your favorite place that you traveled to?
Well, let's see the different posts. I did time at. I did my basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Um, I did training at a lot of training at Fort Benning, Georgia. Um, I did time at Fort Riley, Kansas, Fort Polk, Louisiana. Those are the posts. I think those are the main ones I had been to.
Okay, which do you have a favorite?
Fort Benning, Georgia, home
Okay.
of home of the infantry, and it's where I did airborne training at and infantry officers basic course. A lot of different training courses there.
Yeah. Um, do you have any funny stories you can think of while serving, that have maybe happened to you or happened to a friend? If you don't have any, it's fine. And or you can't think of any.
Yeah, that one kind of puts me on the spot. Let's come back to that
Okay,
bit.
yeah, if you think of anything, just let me know.
Okay.
All right. So now we're gonna start to kind of talk about after the service and your later years after. Um, so do you recall the day your service ended or like when you retired? I'm guessing you would say. Would you say you retired like the day your service
Uh,
ended, you retired?
well, I didn't retire. I just did uh, that I signed up for.
Yeah.
Um, Kind of sort of my last day was pretty much associated with getting an exit physical and going to the medical doctor and almost spending a whole day, kind of like you did when you joined, making sure that you were in the same kind of shape, that you didn't have, loss of hearing and loss of any, you know, any knee issues. And they just basically give you a complete exit physical to ensure you didn't have issues while you were in the military that will hurt you the rest of your life. So you know, kind of you were always coming and going from different units, so you always kind of left friends and behind, and moved on. But yeah, kind of the last days were just kind of exiting out and getting processed out.
Okay. So you didn't retire, you went into the reserves. Is that what it's called? The reserves?
Yes.
Okay. Um, let's see. What did you so let's see. Okay, so I already talked about when you went to school and stuff like that. So after you went to the reserves, what did you do like in your time after like when once you weren't in service anymore and you were in the reserves? Like what did you do after? Like did you start your family? Did you like pursue with your career?
Pretty much right after I got out, actually maybe right before. Let me think about this. Yeah, right before I got out, probably 6 or 8 months, about 8 months before I got out. Um, I, Me and your mom got married,
Mhm.
and I, I at about the same time had gotten my college degree, and um, and so I think I had a year left or something like that. But um, I think I had a year and a half left. But we got married before I finished school, and I had just gotten out, and I had about a year and a half left of college, and I got a degree in engineering, and I started working kind of as an engineer for Dowell Schlumberger in Plaquemine, Louisiana, and just started working right in the work environment.
Yep. Awesome. So did you I know that I have met one of your friends that um you were in the army with. So the question is did you make any close friendships while in service?
Oh, for sure. You have it's hard to describe the relationship or friendship. It's not something that you would have with a brother or sister or even a child or a wife. You have a brotherhood relationship that you can meet these guys at different times and you play catch up, and it's like y'all have been through the same stuff together, so you kind of know each other kind of inside and out. But yes, I have very close friends. William Fletcher, he and I we're close. We still see each other a couple of times a year. Eric Morrow, and we probably see him 3 or 4 times a year. Those are the guys I kept up with the most. There are a couple of more, but those are the guys I kept up with the most.
Okay. Yeah, and the next question you kind of relate on was, are you still in contact with some of them? And you said yes, you are. So let's see. Your career after the service, you were a chemical engineer, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So did your skills that you learned in the Army influence your work or even your thinking, and like the work field with your job? Like, did that influence how you were with the work field, like in the work field?
Most certainly. It makes you more mission oriented. You tend to accomplish things. You don't get bogged down. Somebody assigns you a task to do. You analyze the task and you work toward getting it accomplished. You're very mission oriented. Very direct personality style, and you basically address things head on. You get them accomplished. You don't drag stuff out. And employers like employees that take control of a situation, take ownership of a situation, and they get things accomplished. So, yeah, I would say it definitely improves. But I will also say that people that have direct personalities that are mission oriented are drawn and like structure. They're drawn to the military. So you can say what comes first, but the military does reinforce those character traits, I think.
Yeah. And I know that you're like kind of, let's see, what is the word? Like you kind of influenced us by being like more stern and like headstrong. So that kind of relate on to us and your kids. And I'm more of a headstrong person, and I guess you'd say like your skills and your thinking strategies kind of influenced your children's thinking strategies as well.
Sure, for sure. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of the military that I experiences I've had shaped my life, and they rub off on how I address situations and how I train my kids. I think y'all have called me a drill sergeant a time or two. Uh,
You're pretty laid back, drill sergeant sometimes, but yeah,
when
you definitely have taught us to kind of be headstrong and be independent for sure. So,
Yeah, independent.
um, have you attended any reunions for the Army or with any of your friends from your service?
No, I have not. I
Okay,
have not.
that'd be something interesting to do in the future for sure.
Yeah, I've been to a few funerals,
Okay.
and it kind of we've had some colleagues, brothers that have uh, been you know killed in a line of duty, and I've been to a few funerals, but and those tend to be reunions because we actually had, you could almost call it a reunion. Unfortunately, it was a funeral. We've had some group pictures and um, but it's not a typical reunion. But like I said, we've gotten together, had pictures. We took a picture. I don't know if I have a copy of it, but
It's an
it's probably
important reunion.
30 of us together got together at one of my wingman's funeral where he got killed in Iraq. They brought him back, and we all attended his funeral.
I'm sorry for that. Um, So, was there anything else you would like to talk about or speak on that I may have missed? I know that you didn't really get to I kind of put you on the spot with the jokes question if you had any funny memories or anything. Yeah, I'm pretty much done with all my questions. If you have anything you want to talk about or say, you're more than welcome.
Well, the mentioning the friend that had passed away, that had gotten killed in action in Iraq. He and I had some. He was my. I was a young lieutenant. He was one of my squad leaders and sergeant, and we had became really close. And we went out a couple of times, and we would cut up big time. Some stories I can't tell you, and but we had some good fun times, and I just, you know, things probably shouldn't be mentioned on a video. So me and old Bill Manuel know, and the secrets are between me and him, and we had some good fun times, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Well, if you don't have anything else to talk about or to add to this interview, I would like to thank you for talking to me and taking your time out. I know that you're out of town, but I do appreciate it, especially because this is for school. And um, yeah, I know that everybody else will appreciate seeing this.
Okay. Well, I don't have really anything else. And yeah, I'll see you this weekend, I guess. The fish aren't biting, so
All
catch you.
right. Thank you.
Have a good one. Bye.